Hey everybody, and welcome back to a new video. When you arrive at the scene of where you'd like to take a photo or some action is happening right in front of you, do you say to yourself somewhat aimlessly, I wonder what I should do here? Or are you envious of your friends that when they get to a location or an opportunity, they jump right into taking photos instinctively, and they always seem to get the best angles and the best photos? In this video, I'm going to teach you how to analyze your scene and break it down into photo opportunities. You only need to learn this once, and then it will serve you dutifully and fruitfully forever. These are the skills of observation and visualization, to go from looking to seeing. You'll want to stay for my bonus tip, one that makes the job much, much easier. My name is Simon D'Entremont, and I'm a professional nature and wildlife photographer living in Eastern Canada. I make weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you behind the scenes for nature photography. Subscribe if you want to see more. First off, a warning, there are people using my photo and pretending to be me, and in the comments below offering you prizes. These are scammers. And in case you're worried that you weren't born with this gift, don't. I wasn't endowed with this at birth. I too struggled when I started photography to visualize the shot. And while my friends jumped into action and started taking pics the second the opportunity arose, I either just raised my camera to the eye and took the same shot you would with a phone, or I just stood there dumbfounded saying to myself, where should I stand to take this shot? Or what's the right angle here? There are two things about what I just said that are important. One is that I said struggled, past tense, and now it's way easier because once the light bulb went off, it's like a switch went off in my brain. My goal is to help you trigger your own switch. Secondly is that I said, where should I stand to take the shot? This is perhaps the most important decision you need to make as a photographer when taking a photo. It applies to landscapes, wildlife, portraits, and tons of other styles. The famous black and white photographer from the 1950s, Ansel Adams, was so famous for this idea that he called his book the response that he gave to someone when he was asked what his secret was. The answer? Knowing where to stand. In this video, I'm going to give you the mental checklist to go through every time you have a shot opportunity, to train your brain to do these visual calculations intuitively and find the best photo opportunities in every scene. Once you do this regularly, I believe that one day in your brain too, it will click and you'll say, oh, that's what that means. That's because I believe that in every one of you, there's potential to be a great photographer that we just need to unlock, to unleash. And of course, every genre prioritizes different things, so there's lots of exceptions here. So let's go. Tip number one. When you first get to a scene or face a shot opportunity, the first thing that I check is the direction of the light. Is it behind you, in your face, from the side? Is it soft and diffused? Is it too bright? Or is it just plain scarce? Remember that soft light is often the most flattering to your photos. You want to maximize this to your advantage. The harsh light of the midday sun often makes for difficult photography because it kills the color and blows out your bright highlights. Exceptions would be when sharp lines and shapes are what you're actually looking for, maybe like in street or architecture photography. You need to pull your knowledge of light out of your pocket for this to make a difference. With the sun at your back, both your subject and your background will be fully illuminated. It may be harder to separate your subject and background if they're similarly lit. If the sun is low, you'll have great colors. If the sun is high and bright, it will kill the color. You'd be best to try to get on the far side of your subject and shoot the shady side, rather than the fully illuminated side, when the sun is high and harsh. If the sun is behind your subject and low, you can get great backlighting, rim light on your subject, and a golden glow. Remember that if your subject is fluffy, furry, or has long hair, the rim light gets even better. If your subject has these, try to move your vantage point or your subject so as to get the sun behind them. Also, a darker background will reveal the rim light even more. Is there an angle that you can get to where the dark background will be behind your subject? If the sun is behind your subject but higher up, you'll get a silhouette. Which one of these serves the scene best? If the full sun is killing your color, try to move to the shade. Under the canopy of the trees is good for both portraits and wildlife if the sunshine is too bright. If the light is scarce, your image could be noisy. This includes indoors, which is usually much, much darker than outdoors. Using artificial light like a flash is an option. Having a small portable LED panel is also handy. Some can be adjusted to add color or adjust the white balance. Very handy features. Or if the light is too dim, bring your subject to the light, like outdoors or to a window. If on a street at night, use the light from a store window, neon light, or a street lamp to give you some extra light to play with. In summary, figure out where the light is coming from and position yourself to maximize the positive aspects of the light if it's great light, or position yourself to minimize the negative impacts of bad or overly bright light. If the light is scarce, try to add some. If the light is too bright, try to hide from it. The second trick in visualizing a shot is always thinking three-dimensionally at the scene. Foreground, middle, background. Foreground, middle, background. This is the most important skill I think I ever learned in photography. Always look at a scene not just looking at the subject, but in front of it and behind it also. In some cases, there aren't three but just two. Foreground, background. Foreground, background. Many people will shoot a sunset or a Milky Way shot and only get one element in the photo. The trick is to get a foreground element in the photo too. Like in these Milky Way shots of mine, I always add a subject to the shot and put Milky Way in the background. Of course, to do this, perspective is important. I need a subject in the view while I look south. Or these wildlife shots with an intentional background, like a lighthouse, a wave crashing, or a clean background so there's no distractions. So when you find a subject, look at all the possible angles and try to line up foreground and background elements with your subject. That includes a setting or a rising sun in the background, or anything with lines which can lead to your subject. Remember that if you want your background or foreground elements to be in focus, shoot with a deeper depth of field using a small aperture. If your background is more pleasing, being out of focus, shoot your lens wide open for a thin depth of field. Lining up these various elements is what composition is all about. Now, I'm not professionally trained in the arts, but I saw a demonstration of a teaching method for composition that bears repeating. The professor would give students several shapes and elements and ask students to arrange these in pleasing compositions. This is a great exercise. Leading lines, repeating patterns, juxtapositions, and balance. These can all be achieved with the right orientation. Your goal then at taking a photo is to do the same exercise but mentally with the elements in your scene. Where should your subject be? What lines can lead to it? What looks balanced in the photo and what looks out of balance? These are the mental calculations of creating a composition. And of course, most things in life can't be manipulated like in our exercise. You may be lucky enough to have a person that you can move in the scene, but often the composition and alignment of these elements will be achieved by you moving around the scene and lining these up. It's all about perspective. Don't forget to move forward and backward, which won't change the background size much, but will change the size of the foreground elements in relation to the background. A hint, exaggerating the size of a small foreground element by getting really close to it is a great trick. In this photo, there was a beautiful sunrise, but there were no clouds in the sky, so the sky was really boring. But I found this great pattern in the sand. It was only 12 inches long. I got really close to it and made that the highlight of my photo. By thinking three-dimensionally, when you line up elements of a composition, you'll start seeing shooting lanes of opportunity. Once you have your lanes established, look at field of view and proximity to the background elements as the variables you have to work with to go from taking a photo to making a photo. In summary, study the elements in your scene, front, middle, back, and then arrange them intentionally or by moving around side to side, up or down, closer or farther, to get the proportions and alignments that work the best. The third trick to mastering visualization is capturing the right mood to the scene. This can be done in post-processing, but is best captured right at the scene. By mood, I mean elements of feeling that are not in the subject itself, but in how it's captured and presented. These can be achieved with varying brightness, vividness of color, and white balance. Bright images are lively, dainty, and happy. They invoke feelings of life, speed, activity, and longevity. Bright images mark the beginning of things. They're about life, joy, living. Dark images, on the other hand, depict the ending of things, or the ending of day, or the ending of light. They feel heavy at a slower pace. Dark images are about mystery, about what's hidden, not being said, what's outside the frame. Like in this photo, what's this gosling looking at? What's the mystery just outside the frame? When you look at your scene and its elements, think about what brightness best describes the scene and what's going on in these. Is it lively and aware or sleepy and still? The vividness or saturation is another element. Images that are saturated are lively, happy, animated. They invoke life, openness, and the revealing of the scene, not hiding anything. Desaturated images, on the other hand, are more mysterious. They have a sense of something hidden, less lively and darker feeling, some hidden power. Using white balance creatively is another powerful technique. Warm images with these oranges and red tones indeed feel like we call them, warm. They invoke a sunrise, sunset, heat, warmth, love, and caring. Blue tones, on the other hand, invoke a feeling of being in the cold, alone, stark, and harsh. This use of cold and warm tones may seem foreign to you, but I guarantee you've all seen them in use in movies and on TV. On Game of Thrones, for example, the scenes in the far icy north are always very blue. They look cold. The scenes in the warm south are all orange and yellow to match the climate and look just like that, warm. So when in cold scenes you want the temperature to be felt in the photo, use a white balance that adds some blue to your image. At the beach, in sunny climates, or at sunrise and sunset, use warm tones to reflect those feelings of warmth and brightness. So in summary, when you arrive at a scene or a shot opportunity, first, analyze the direction of the light to understand its strengths and challenges. Consider which angles will or won't work and eliminate or mitigate the problem areas or angles of a scene. This gives you a list of potential vantage points, and think of these as shooting lanes. Then analyze the elements of these lanes. Think in 3D, foreground, middle, background. Once you have your subject identified and supporting elements and angle of perspective chosen, think of the best mood to support the shot. Cold, warm, bright, dark, colorful, or desaturated. Shoot it bright, shoot it light, or as best represents your vision of the scene. I promise you that once you do this a few times, one day you will arrive at a scene and your brain will automatically start scanning the scene for light, patterns, subjects, backgrounds, and alignments. That's when photography will go from being a challenge to solve, like, oh dear, what the heck do I do here, to what opportunities lie hidden here, waiting for me to discover them. That's when photography gets really fun. And finally, a last tip. One technique that helps to do this visualization is to get a preview of what the image looks like. Now, some people can do this in their brain, but for me, I love some added help. And you've all seen this before with the old movie director looking through the fingers move. Just put your camera in live view and walk around with your camera while looking at the back LCD. Change the orientation, move forward and backwards, up and down. This really makes it easier to find compositions and alignments of subject and supporting elements that can sometimes make opportunities appear more plainly than if you just do this in your head, especially at odd angles like low to the ground. I believe that in the same way that amazing photos are everywhere just waiting to get discovered, a great photographer lies in all of us, waiting to get discovered with just some hints and tricks that will make your inner light bulb go off and go, ooh, that's what I needed to do. Once triggered, this will serve you well forever and you'll never need to go back. If you found this content deserving, give it a like and YouTube will share this with even more in the photography community, helping us all grow together. I hope you can use this skill to transform your photography the next time you go out and forever after that, so you can take your own amazing photos. I know you can do it.